Welcome aboard the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon podcast, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boaters find the right boat at the best price and ensure all boaters have years and years of happy boating fun because life truly is better on a boat. Today's podcast is sponsored by the First Time Boat Buyers Academy, so you can find the perfect boat at the lowest possible price and buy with 100% confidence. For a short video, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/academy. Now, let's hop aboard and have some fun. Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon series. I'm your host, Captain Matt, and today we're talking about should you buy a boat in this environment or not. I'm recording this in late October 2021, and you hear from everybody, hey, don't buy a boat now. Listen, it's not the right time to buy a boat. The market's going to be flooded with all these COVID buyers. What they mean is these dumb COVID buyers that should have never bought a boat in the first place. What we're going to talk about is that fact or is that fiction? So we're going to look at some facts and figures, review the current market conditions. I'm going to make a few predictions, and I'm going to answer the question, should you buy a boat right now? I referenced some graphs and charts in this podcast. You can visit the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon YouTube channel to view all of those resources. So what I mean by right now is in the next 6 to 12 months or so. So let's look at, these are the numbers that I've been kind of referencing as I've done my COVID updates, my market updates. So we know inventory, crazy low. New boat inventory, used boat inventory. This is from dealers that have been surveyed. What's your inventory level look like? Virtually everybody is saying, hey, our inventory is crazy low. But what I thought was interesting are these comments that they actually got from the dealers that they surveyed. These are actually the comments that they wrote in. So I'm not going to read these all to you, but I've highlighted them. You can pause the video and you can read them and check them out. But good. Most deliveries from 1 to 2 years out, which means that they're pre-selling ordered boats for delivery. This one, selling build 2022 slots. So pre-orders, nothing working. Everything is just happening. Supply shortages and back orders, finding qualified technicians and staffing, trying to make our customers happy. No inventory. Factories can't produce. We're losing sales to recreational activities, RVs and camping. Lack of qualified technicians. Quality of boats from the factory has gone down. That's very interesting. We'll talk about that. Bennington can't get me boats. Easy loader won't build our trailers. Broken supply chain means lack of products, boats, motors, accessories. If it happens too long, it'll be a real threat to dealership. So there's concern that, hey, even though everybody says things are through the roof, if you can't get product, demand really doesn't matter. Finding qualified technicians, we'll come back to that one again. Used boats dried up at the end of September. Manufacturers fixed margins. They're forcing dealers to buy engines and then not delivering the boat with the engine because of the engine shortages, even though the dealer may have motors on site that they can install. Supply, it's impossible to predict the scheduled turnaround dates for service departments. So a bad experience for some consumers when it comes to service. Same thing with delivery dates. Everyone has excuses for not being able to get product. It's a new delay, a new cause. And they're saying that, hey, although the manufacturers are saying they're delivering ordered boats first, this particular dealer says, hey, I'm seeing other dealers get stock inventory before my customers getting their product. Fuel prices continue to rise. It may price some people out of the market. Boat manufacturers are still adding dealers to their network, even though they can't build enough boats for the dealers that they have. Interesting. I thought this was a good one. Can't imagine being a manufacturer right now. All the consuming supply chains are broken. It's got to be a drastic business threat to many. Being a dealer is tough enough. Wouldn't want to be a manufacturer right now. So the pressure's on the manufacturers. Some manufacturers, hey, we've got all these pre-ordered boats. Are they going to be financially stable enough to get through and actually produce the boats so they can bring the revenue in? I don't know. Prices are getting out of control. We're going to affect demand levels soon. Still low inventory. This is going to end in a brick wall. All new boaters will leave and return to their normal lives and travel. The free money and free times will disappear. Boat dealers will be competing with a huge supply of newer used boats on the market in the next 18 months. Happiest day is the day you buy, the day you sell. If you're not a real boater at heart and you just bought a boat for something to do during COVID, we're going to talk about all of those things. And then again, this year we're telling customers if they want to buy anytime next year, they must order now. We're actively promoting ordered boats. Unfortunately, we have no new inventory in stock. We're selling production slots. So they're making a lot of sales, but they're selling future boats. So there's not going to be a lot of inventory in the showrooms to go look at, which makes some of the advice I give on this channel difficult. And we're going to talk about that as well. So let's look at some of the numbers of sales. Well, you're like, man, look at that jump. Billions of dollars increase in traditional power boats from 2019 to 2020, even bigger from 2018 to 2020. Okay. So you're seeing big, huge jumps. But wait a second. What does that mean for actual units? Well, when you look at the actual unit increase, and this is outboards, inboards, stern drives, and jet boats. What's left out of here from numbers I've given in the past are there's no jet skis, no personal watercraft included, which is about 70,000, 80,000 units, okay? So when you take those out and you just look at power boats, what you'll see is from 2019 to 2020, there was only about 20 extra boats sold. And you see, that's even with a dip in 2019 because of COVID. COVID dropped in March. There were virtually zero sales. Everybody freaked out in late February to late March. They said, holy crap, this pandemic, what's going to happen? Well, things shut down. We were going to flatten the curve for 2 weeks. You remember that? Oh, it's 2 weeks. We'll flatten the curve. This will all be over and behind us. No big deal. Well, we flattened the curve. Okay. But everything's still shut down. What are we going to do? We can't travel. We can't go to Disney. Hotels are closed. Restaurants are closed. Well, hell, let's buy a boat. Even though that was the case, for new boats, they only built about 20,000 new boats. And when you look at, 2020 was a huge boom and increase. We saw it was for dollar amount, it was tremendous, right? But in units, it wasn't very significant. And then when you look historically, you say, 200 plus thousand, 225,000 actual boats, 310,000 when you put in personal watercraft. That really historically isn't a lot of boats. If you look in the early 2000s and the 90s, producing over 300,000, 350,000 boats in 2000, there's really not a ton of boats on the market compared to what was produced in the past. So this theory that there's going to be this flood of boats coming on the market, I don't think it's accurate because there were only about 20,000 new boats added to the marketplace. All the other boats have been there all along. They're used and they're driving prices up for sure. It's definitely driving prices up, but a flood of new boats coming on the marketplace, I'm not sure where those boats are going to be coming from because, well, there weren't a ton more. And if you look in 2019, that dip, so if you figure, well, on 2018, if we would have stayed on that pace, it's probably about the same number of boats that would have been produced if we were just flat. So I don't think there's a tremendous amount of new boats 2018 or 2019, 2020 that are going to flood the market. because the unit numbers just aren't there. The dollar amounts are, prices are going up, and that's a fact, and we're going to talk about that more too. But units, I don't think that flood of boats is we're going to see, because a lot of the boats that sold were used. They were already there. Several of them were boats that should have never been sold. They kind of got taken out of the back lot, or they got taken out of the woods, cleaned up and sold, and those need to go to the junk pile. So those boats will hopefully go away. But let's look at what's happening now. So the yellow is COVID time. So April 2019, okay? So February, March in 2019, we dropped. This is aluminum over 16 feet. So pontoons, aluminum fishing boats, fiberglass outboards, fiberglass stern drives less than 30 feet. If we look at those, we see that drop in February, March. We knew that's going to happen. These are in percentages, so not units. And then we see the spike. Oh, man. People are buying boats. People are buying boats. They, excuse me. Supply chain issues started hitting, and the seasonality hit. We dropped down a little bit. Ooh, supply chain really hit. Now we sold out of inventory, right? So we didn't have the inventory to sell, so sales dropped in that year and those months. You can see it all throughout. They dropped, and now they spike back up because, we got some inventory. We were able to catch up a little bit, and now what's happening? Boat sales are through the roof. 2021, we are going to see a big spike in production, maybe, because what happened? In 2021, supply chain issues again. And this is in April, so it's not the seasonality that you would expect in December, January, February. No. This has happened in April, May, June, July, when we should be through the roof in sales. Demand is so high, but the reality is we're not selling boats. We're selling production spots. We're selling ordered boats, which are, on a good day, 2 to 3 months out, but for many manufacturers, 4-6 months out that they're telling you. And then people are, we can't hit your delivery date. We got to push it 2 weeks. We got to push it a month. We got to push it another week because we can't get something in. So that's what we're seeing in virtually every segment, including ski boats. You're seeing that same dip. Jet boats, that same dip. Personal watercraft, that same dip. Sailboats, not so much. Sailboats is a super small number, less than a couple thousand sailboats produced. So we're seeing that demand crazy high, but it's deposits taken. It's not actual, here, I'm going to pay for my full boat. It's the deposit, which brings up the concern of, okay, we're selling production boats. Are any of these dealers having financial issues? Did they not manage their money properly? Probably not as big of an issue, because I think the boats will get delivered, but something, if it keeps up for too long, may be an issue. Why is that happening? Supply chain. Container ships stuck at sea. We've all heard this. We've all seen this. Cargo ships backed up in U.S. ports. The chip shortage. Global shortage of marine engines. It's going to last for a very long time. Mercury, Yamaha, Suzuki, all of them are having that a state of emergency because Japanese factory closed during the COVID, like everybody did, but not just the engine manufacturers, everybody that supplied their parts. The chips that everybody's talking about, the auto industry, well, Yamaha uses those chips as well. This was an article that from a couple months ago, that Suez Canal, that boat being blocked, they had thousands of containers or thousands of products on that ship, and it caused a shortage. So the chips, the shipping, all of that has just backlogged the supply chain. What about labor? If you go and you do a search for boat builder jobs, there's thousands of them out there. Boat manufacturers are holding job fairs just to get people in. So the supply chain is an issue, but labor is an issue as well. They laid off some people in March of 2019 because, the boating industry's doomed. Everything's shutting down. The economy's going to tank. Nobody's going to have money. Well, people went out. They got the unemployment. They did their thing. Maybe they changed industries. Now they're trying to hire them back. The labor in the boating industry skews very old, very tenured, and getting new craftsmen into the business has proved difficult. Good, talented people to build boats. So now the level of craftsmanship has gone down. The quality of even the best manufacturers are having more quality issues, which we heard in those comments. And then pricing is going up. So this is the producer price index for boat building, inboard, outdrive boats. So stern drives, inboards, and includes commercial and military. But you see, just constantly going up. We dipped down 2011. I'm not sure why that was, what happened there. Continues going up. But look at this little spike right here. Let's take a closer look. June 2021, the producer price index for boats went, 10 points up in a matter of a short period of time. A 10-point jump is pretty significant. These lines are 20 points. It's taken 4 or 5 years to jump that in the past. And now we've got that jump in a single month. Why? Supply chain issues, raw material issues. Wholesalers saying we got to charge more. Container ships going up tenfold just to bring it into the States. Raw material going up. All of that going up. Labor shortages. We got to pay people more. So now it costs more to build these boats, and the price of boats are getting higher. So the question is, can people afford these high prices of boats? Well, what's going to happen? Are we going to see a downturn? Is there going to be a flood of these boats coming on the market? Remember our initial question. Economists predict second quarter to grow at a 10% pace, north of 6.5% in 2021. Past decade, there have been few quarters where GDP grew at even 3%, and we're predicting 10 to 6.5% in a quarter. Why? Well, Congress approved almost $2 trillion of financial spending, plus the $900 billion, almost $1 trillion that they did late last year. So the government is pumping a crap load of money into the market. What's that mean? Well, for the wealthy, the top 50%, the people that are actually buying boats, it means from 2000 to today, their wealth has gone up significantly. Let's look at COVID times. Well, we dipped down, and then we just shot straight up. Top 1%, top 10%, top 50%. We're seeing that spike up. Now, people that are having it rough are still having it fairly rough. That influx of funds, it's helped. It's brought their household wealth up slightly, but it's not that hockey stick that we see for the affluent that are actually buying boats. Now, top 50% doesn't mean that you're making $500,000 a year. That just means that top 50% is over $75,000 a year, probably a little bit less than that even. It's probably over 50% or $50,000 a year when you look at overall. So, glut of cash. Household wealth rose $141 trillion in Q2 of 21. The value of homes skyrocketing in my area all over the country. So there's money, even though there's risk of inflation, there's so much money in the market in these people that have the money that will be buying boats. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, because of all that, I think demand is going to continue through at least mid-2023. So the summer of 23. 22, I got to tell you, I think we're probably going to be sold out by May, maybe earlier for a lot of brands where they're going to be selling production spots and they're just going to be producing ordered boats. So dealers aren't going to be able to stock up inventory, which means that if that demand continues, dealers aren't going to start having inventory until 2023. Supply chain issues will probably continue to mid-2023. Now, this is not my opinion. This is from research that I've done on people way smarter than me about supply chain issues and how we're going to, the international scope of it all, the tariffs, the infrastructure, the shipping. We didn't even talk about trains and trucks, and once we get it into the U.S., there's a delay there. So prices, Well, my prediction, continue to increase through 2024 models. 2024 models start getting delivered in late 2023. So the new models usually come out in August. They start getting shipped to the dealers. They make their price increases usually in June or July. They start announcing those or looking at those. And I think we're going to continue to see those increases because inflation, fuel prices going up, transportation costs going up, import costs going up, labor costs going up, all of that increasing, I think is going to continue to push new boat models up, which I think will pull used boat models as well. But I think that is going to slow slightly. That's an opinion. So used boat prices hold at current levels. If we don't start to see supply chain improvements in the next 6 months, I think we'll continue to see the used boat prices go up. But as the supply chain issues show that they're getting better, I think we'll see used boat prices flatten slightly. So what don't I know? What are the risks to future demands? Well, if banks start tightening credit, that could be an issue. All of these ordered boats that manufacturers have that they're buying on credit, which isn't as much as you would think. A lot of people, from what I'm hearing, are paying cash, more than we've historically seen. So, but if credit tightens, well, there's an issue. If gas prices continue to go higher, and I'm talking over $3-4 a gallon, well, I think that could have an impact as well. Continued overall higher inflation. I think everybody's projecting inflation, but how bad will it get? Will it maintain a reasonable level? Opening of international travel, I think that is still impacting people getting into boating where, hey, we can't take that trip to the islands that we were planning. We can't take whatever, or it's difficult. I think if that really, really opens up, and there's not as many restrictions, the mask stuff goes away, it's easier, more fun, less risky for people with health issues to travel, that might have an issue. And just overall COVID resurgence or an overreaction to something may not be the true danger. I don't want to get political or give my opinions here because it's irrelevant. But if there's some of that, that could be a risk. So the question that we asked initially is, should you buy a boat in the next 6 to 12 months? If you found value in this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your opinions here, and share this video on your social media if you think it was valuable or interesting. I say yes. Yes, you should buy a boat in the next 6 to 12 months if there's a big, giant if here. If you can afford it with a big, good cushion, comfortably afford it. If you can buy it and understand that you're paying 5 to 15% more for the new or used boat that you're buying, maybe even a little bit more, if you're comfortable with that because you would rather spend more money to get the boat today and start making memories today than to wait to see what happens. And again, you're waiting 18, 24 months, I think, before you get what the people say, a flood of boats, which I think you'll get. My opinion is I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we will see these boats come back on the market and people get out of boating, but I don't think it's going to be a flood. I think it's going to be a nice steady stream, more than normal, but you're waiting. And listen, you work hard. This has been a stressful couple of years. Even the people that have made it through it the easiest, there's been stress. There's been confrontation. There's been, whether it's kids not being able to go to school and having to deal with childcare, whether it's having your kids at home 24/7 and having to teach them and having to, you don't have the normal places that you go for them to be entertained, the social distancing, the masks, the financial, the political turmoil, the cancel culture, all of that stuff that's going on, social media conflict. Hey, you work hard and you deserve to enjoy your financial success. Again, if you can afford it with a good cushion. But for some people, the answer is absolutely not. If you're stretching too much and financially if the cost of boating goes up, gas continues to go up, insurance goes up because there's more accidents, there's more people on the water, there's more hurricanes, there's a storage prices go up because more people are using their boats. If those things happen and now boating becomes a financial burden, then I think you're better off not getting into it now. Although you can buy a boat now and reasonably expect to sell it without taking a huge loss or even any loss for the next year, maybe 2 years, making the big profits. I think there's a lot of people that are trying to do that, and only a handful are really doing it successfully with smaller profits. If in 2 to 3 years, when the prices start coming back down because supply is caught up, manufacturers are ramping up production like crazy right now, they're going to start overproducing boats at some point. They do it every time this happens, and this is not going to be any exception. They very seldom learn the lesson. They want to make hay while the sun shines. It's very difficult to time it. They're going to push all these boats on the dealers. The dealers are going to take them. And there's going to be a slight downturn at some point, and there's going to be more demand or more supply than demand. And I think maybe in 2 years or 2 to 3 years, we might start seeing that prices correct themselves. And you see that, my boat just went down way more than I was expected. That guy that bought a boat 3 years ago, he sold it for a profit and upgraded it. My buddy told me this story, and he made 20 grand on his boat. And you're going to take a regular depreciation hit like you would expect on any fun money toy. If that's going to drive you crazy and no amount of memories made will make you feel better for paying more, well, then don't buy a boat right now. If you're that person, then just don't buy a boat right now. Or if you feel, hey, listen, the U.S., the world, it's just too volatile right now to make a fun money investment. I want to keep my cash secure. I don't even know if I want to be in the market. I want to be in gold, or I want to be very, very risk averse. I want to keep my money because I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Well, then you shouldn't buy a boat. So I don't think there's a right answer for everybody, but I hope this gives you the things to think about. And let me give you some advice. If you are a yes, let me give you some advice, because I was told this by somebody that invested in my first time Boat Buyer Academy. He bought a 15-foot Montauk. Awesome boat. It's a great boat. Been a rock solid standard for whaler, for the boating industry for decades and decades and decades. And he said, listen, I couldn't inspect the boat. I couldn't negotiate anything on the boat. They were not going to let me test drive the boat even. Things have changed. He said, you need to put some information out for people that want to buy now because things are changed. So that's what I'm going to do here. If you're going to buy a boat now, here's my recommendation. I go through this in full detail in the First Time Boat Buyers Academy. I'm working on a module for COVID buying tips to go even deeper into this. But number one, set the boat budget for what you're going to buy and your boating budget for your total cost of ownership, insurance, storage, maintenance, gear, all of that stuff needs to be figured in early in the process. Figure out what 80% of your boating lifestyle looks like, and then what's the other 20% look like. Have those conversations with your family, with your wife, with your husband, with your kids, with your adult kids, with your grandkids. What does that look like? And what's really going to happen on the water most of the time? Buy the boat for the 80%. Try to accommodate the 20%, but still staying in your budget, okay? Visit marinas, boat ramps, and dealers, because, listen, dealers likely aren't going to have the inventory in stock that you can go and look at this model and that model and this brand and that brand and visit 10 dealers and see 15, 20, 100 boats like you used to be able to. Now, you're going to go to a dealer, and you're going to have to talk to that dealer and get their opinion and their advice and their local information, their advice about their brands. But you're going to have to look at some boats in the storage lot. You're going to have to look at in the service yard. You're going to have to go to a boat ramp and just strike up a conversation with somebody that bought the boat that you would like that's maybe a year or two old. You're going to have to visit marinas and walk the docks and talk to people that have bought similar boats, and you're gonna have to do that to find out what's right for you. Don't skip that step, because if you buy the wrong boat, you're going to be very disappointed. Know exactly what you want early. Have your finances ready. If you're financing a portion, get pre-approved. If you have to shuffle money around, get it shuffled so that you have instant access to it when you find the right boat. Because here's what I'm going to say: be slow in everything, in the research, act quick to lock it in, and then inspect slowly and completely. So you got to be slow in the research and the what do we want? How are we going to do it? What's the budget look like? What's the logistics? Be slow in that. When you find the right boat, you got to act quick, because if you don't, you're going to lose that opportunity. With the dealer, you can lock it in, typically with the refundable deposit. I can see some dealers going to non-refundable deposits, especially on ordered boats. You're going to have to do 10% or more, and it's probably going to be non-refundable. That's normal. So you got to be able to act quick, get your production spot. If they do have an inventory boat, lock that boat in, and then do the test drive. But you got to be ready to act quick, because they're not going to dilly-dally. What I'm hearing is some dealers, some brokers are getting attitudes of, hey, you're even lucky that you can get this boat. I think that mentality is going to continue for the next year or so, or even more, as people get in bad habits. Salespeople can really get lazy and get in bad habits, and the sales have been so easy and so fierce and fast and furious that you got to deal with that. That means you got to be ready to act quick. But don't write that final check. Don't sign on that line that is dotted until you've inspected the boat completely. On used stuff, it's even got to act quicker, inspect more thoroughly, because there's some garbage out there. Sea trial and demos. Hey, if you're buying a boat up in Minnesota in January, you say, I can't test drive it. I can't take it out of the water. Well, you may not want to hear this, but I'm going to say, wait till ice out. Don't buy that boat without running it, especially if it's used, if it's a couple years old. There's just too many things that can be hidden on a boat, and it could be why they're selling it in the wintertime. You got to be real cautious with that. Get the boat history report. Do the compression check. Run it on a hose. But man, I'm going to encourage you to just pause and maybe wait till you can actually put it on the water, even if that means you got to keep searching. Ordering a boat, hey, we don't have that boat in stock. We can't let you look at it. We can't let you demo it. Like I said, it's probably going to be a 10%, possibly non-refundable deposit. Very common in the industry. They're not trying to pull a fast one. That's the way I did it in good times. Back in 2009, 2010, when I was selling, you saw that was at the bottom of the trough before demand started going up. And we still did it that way. So here's what you can do. Well, go on to Boat Setter. They're a great company. They're like a VRBO or a Airbnb for boats. You can go and you can rent a boat directly from a consumer, get my boat, or talk to the dealer and say, hey, who has a boat like this that would let me run it so I can make sure this is exactly what I want? They may or may not be accommodating. You may have to do some legwork on yourself and then inspect it completely again before taking delivery and writing that final check. That's on a used boat and that's on a new boat. Go through those with the fine-tooth comb, because the new boats are coming out with more quality issues than they ever have. The dealers are busier than ever. They can overlook things in their pre-delivery inspection. So just find all that stuff, figure out how you're going to address it. If it's a used boat, don't be afraid to walk away if you find too many red flags, as I talk about. So what about specifically new and used? Because there's some different things. You're likely going to have to order if you go new. And inspect something similar, even if it's older. Like I said, Boat Setter, get my boat, walking the docks at the marina or hanging out at the boat ramp for the day, talking to the dealer to have them set you up with a past customer, and then expect long and uncertain delivery time. So when you order, hopefully they'll lock in pricing. There was a period last year in July, August, September, where manufacturers weren't even locking in pricing because they didn't know what the supply chain issue. Remember that in June, you saw the producer price index just shoot up 10 points? Well, if that happens again, you may not be able to lock in price. Delivery times, they're going to give you a date. It's an estimate, and expect it to be delayed at some point. There's just too many unknowns, too many things they can't control about the supply chain that one of the comments, if you go back and read all those comments from dealers, and I encourage you to do it because it's really, really interesting to hear what's actually coming from dealers' mouths, is, there's manufacturers have these holes completed, but they don't have an engine to hang, or they're missing a windshield, or they're missing seats, they're missing upholstery, they're missing this little gizmo that has to go on this part before we continue the build process, and they're just sitting there waiting. So you may have to travel. So get creative with the demo. Get my boat, find marinas, talking to people, dealers, clients. You may have to travel to find the right boat that you're looking for. The dealer in your local area may be out of production spots, may not be able to get you in, but you can find it 200 miles away. Well, if you want the boat, go get it. Figure out the warranty. Have the conversation with the dealer you're buying from and your local dealer and say, listen, will you help me out with warranty? And try to be as friendly as you can. Listen, I'll do all my service with you. I'll buy this stuff from you, whatever you can figure out. But there will likely be warranty issues that you need to have addressed. They're likely going to be small, not significant, but even the best boat. My father-in-law's $100,000 Cobalt had electrical issue. There was a pin that was bent just a little bit in one of his things, cruising down the lake, and it would just cut off for no reason. It was just dead. Everything dies. Crank right back up, but it happens on even the nicest boat. So know how you're going to deal with that. Have those conversations. Not a ton of discounts, but negotiate anyway. So what always happens, I don't care what pricing is doing, people that are selling stuff are always going to price it higher than what they're willing to take for it. I say always. Oftentimes are going to do that. So don't expect huge discounts, but also don't just pay what they're asking. Ask for the discounts. Ask for it in the right way. We talk about it in the Boat Buyers, First Time Boat Buyers Academy, how to do it in the right way. We're going to update that for COVID times, but even the way I show it, how to do it, works incredibly well to get any discount that you could potentially get. There's not going to be much, but there may be some savings. If you're buying used, hey, listen, there's still some turds on the market. Buyer beware. There's always another boat. Too many red flags, walk. There's always another boat. You may have to wait, but if you get in a hurry and you avoid the red flags, that's when the problems come up. Ronald from New York told a great story of this, that, hey, a $200,000 or $150,000 boat, $200,000 boat, I don't remember what it was, from a broker that he wanted to buy it. He loved it. But you go listen to that podcast. It's a good story. Don't get caught in that situation. There's many people that are putting their boat out there that have just bought it, and they're saying, I want to see what I can get on the prices. And they're pricing it way higher. Pay attention to the market. Just because they're asking a price doesn't mean that's a price that you're going to have to pay. There's several boats that are just priced wildly high. They may sell it, but they're just testing the waters. I would sell it if I can make 10 grand on this boat. Well, they're probably not going to. And you can find a more reasonable price. Just because that's what the highest one is doesn't mean that's what it's selling for. The lowest one, maybe that's the turd. Maybe that's something that you really got to watch out for. You may need to travel. If you got to travel, figure out transportation costs. Hey, if gas is going up to $3-4 a gallon and you got to go 300 miles with your F-250 to go pick up a 24-foot fiberglass boat, You're going to spend a lot on fuel costs. Figure that into the price. Know that that's part of it. It can be a fun adventure, though, to do it. So I'm not saying don't do it, but just because you make that trip and you've traveled 300 miles to go look at the boat doesn't mean you have to buy it. There's always another boat on the market, and it could be a turd. Look out for the red flags. Don't buy a boat just because of the sunk cost of the travel. And I've already been through all of this. I'm just going to get it and take it home and see what's going on. No. Walk away. There's always another boat. Don't get stuck with somebody else's headache just because you're too excited and you've got the sunk cost that you've already traveled and you've already done that. Be patient, be ready, be willing, and be able to act quick if it's right. But remember, there's always another boat out there if there's too many red flags, and then negotiate. There will likely be price drops, especially if you're buying used, especially if you're buying from a private seller. Private sellers are going to have a price. Most of them aren't professional salespeople when it comes to boats and a product like this. So the price is going to be high. And if you ask the right questions, you can likely get a discount. Just had a guy that bought a 2018 Crown Line. He was on the Q&A, the live Q&A the other day, and he saved $1,500 just by asking a couple of questions in the right order, in the right way to a seller. It was easy. And people are saying, "Oh my gosh, you can't negotiate. You just gotta give them what they're asking for." Not the case. If you're ready to move quick, and you're willing to move quick, and you ask the right questions, you can get a discount. You inspect it, you can buy a boat with a lot of confidence. If you need more assistance, if you're nervous, First Time Boat Buyers Academy is a great value. I walk through every situation that you're going to find yourself in. I make myself available to you if you've got questions. Check that out at firsttimeboatbuyer.com or boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/academy.
Let's pull up the anchor and run this podcast back to the dock. We'll be back again with another helpful and fun episode next time. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest, and I'll help offer insights into your boat research and shopping experience. Also, we'd appreciate it if you took just 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. It helps others find us so we can help more boaters.
By the way, if you want to ensure you find the perfect boat at the lowest possible price so you can buy with 100% confidence, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/academy for a short video and all the details.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you with a few first-time boating tips for when you own your new boat. Number 1, know your local boating laws, basic navigation rules, and how to operate your boat safely. It'll make boating even more fun for everyone. 2, be aware of your wake at all times and pay attention to no wake zones because you are responsible for your wake. When maneuvering at slow speeds, you can put out an enormous wake. If going slow, be courteous, save some fuel, and drop down to idle speed, just in forward gear to ensure there is no wake. This could save you an expensive ticket and will keep you from being that guy on your waterway. Number 3, boats do not have headlights. They have docking lights, specifically made for seeing in tight quarters and docking. Do not turn your docking lights on while cruising down the water. It can blind other boaters and is very dangerous, and again, could save you an expensive ticket. Number 4, follow the maintenance schedule for your boat. Change the oil, impeller, gear lube, winterize if you need to winterize in your area. Inspect your trailer tires, bearings, and grease the hubs if you're a trailer boater to ensure you don't experience expensive and unnecessary repairs that will impact your boating time. Number 5, always double check your plug is in, your battery is charged, and the fuel is full before heading out for a day on the water. It could just save your boating day. And if you're a trailer boater, I've got a few extra tips. Number 1, at the boat ramp, prepare your boat, your gear, and your guests in the staging area. Then, when you're ready, back down the ramp, unload the boat, head to the parking lot, and right back down to your boat to be fast and courteous to your fellow boaters, and don't tie up that ramp unnecessarily. Next, use transom tie-down straps when trailing your boat. Very bad things can happen if you don't, and they do happen. 3, check everything in the boat is secure before heading down the road. Seat cushions, gear, keys, towels, even tubes and lily pads can get blown out when pulling your boat down the highway or interstate. And most important, have fun. Enjoy your boat and get on the water as much as possible, because life truly is better on a boat. Until next time, this is your friend in boating, Captain Matt.